Giovanna Sardelli. I am Artistic Associate and Director of New Works for TheatreWorks Silicon Valley, and I am sitting here with esteemed playwright, Rajiv Joseph.
Thank you.
In real life, people.
Yes.
This is amazing.
It's good to see you.
It's really good to see you.
Welcome to Cleveland.
First of all, I just want to say I'm super giddy to be like in your presence, which
everyone always says that.
Yeah, that's not usually how I feel. I love being in your presence, but I'm like, I could be extra emotional right now.
I'm also giddy.
Are you giddy?
Yes.
Is this what giddy looks like on you?
This is me being giddy.
It's good to know.
Yes.
Good to know. When did we first start working together? What year was that?
It was 2004.
That's right. You were just were you just out of school?
Yeah, I just graduated from NYU's graduate school.
Right. And I had just recently announced to the world that I would be a director.
Yes.
Yes.
We were both kind of entering our new careers.
That's right. Something that struck me even back then about you, because when I thought we were working together, I remember saying to you, there's a lot of repetition here. And I was like, does that work? Mm-hmm. And even you had not had a play produced yet. And you said to me, it does. It's so funny. Like, what are some things that you have always known to be true about your voice that took other people a while to catch on to, maybe?
That's a really interesting question, actually. For all the things that we've done together, you've never asked me that, and so now I'm off balance.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the only way I can answer that is that what you were talking about in terms of repetition. I think one of the advantages I had as a playwright, and I didn't start writing plays until I was 28 or 29, was the sort of upbringing I had in music. And my brother actually is a professional musician, the owner of Dragonfly Percussion.
Yes.
And
nice plug.
Yes, and he's a much better musician than me. But I was raised taking piano lessons, singing. I was in choirs through high school, college, and even in New York when I lived there, I was in a professional choir. And I really believe that music has helped my writing a lot. And I think especially in regards to what you were talking about, the rhythm of something, the repetition of something. Repetition can just be repetition, or repetition can be building towards like a sort of climax, a sort of like building towards a crescendo, a point. And so that's what that was doing in that scene, and I think that is what has helped me in like the final part of writing, which is like the first part is like figuring out the characters, figuring out the scene, figuring out the action. But then as you can craft it, to me it becomes more like music.
I think that's really true, and I think we hear the same music. Because I remember after I had all these questions for you, and I said, listen, I don't know your play, we'll just hear it read together, and then I'll know. And I think also why we work together is that I turned to you and went, oh yeah, you're right, I hear it now, mm-hmm. I see what you're doing.
You have to have the right musicians. Like, again, I was so lucky to have you as a director and those actors doing my play for my first time out the gate.
I mean, talk about actors who can deliver. I'm going to jump right to North Pole, the North mm-hmm. Pole. What you introduced me to TheatreWorks through the New Works Festival.
Yeah.
And Adam Puss and Remy Sandry.
Great actors.
Great actors. And I felt like working on North Pole was conducting an orchestra.
Yeah.
So I called the principal at Eagleton. They call him the headmaster. The principal is too working class for those guys. And you know what he says to me? You know what he told me?
No.
He says something happened that they would just as soon keep quiet. Discretion. He said that to me. One word as a sentence, he said. Discretion. And wouldn't say anything more to me. Well,
what?
Discretion?
What?
What happened at Eagleton?
Nothing.
You're not going to tell me?
Nothing happened. I just left.
Discretion. Okay? So So nothing happened at Eagleton. I'm sorry I assumed. You do understand why it's curious to me?
Why?
I'm saying someone, anyone, just decides, for the heck of it, to leave one of the most prestigious prep schools in the state and come here? I mean, you should have heard how they spoke to me. It's a downgrade, man!
Are you accusing me of vandalizing the school?
Oh, for Christ's sake! We're just talking.
Well, that script took me about 6 years to write, and it kept changing and changing and changing, and it went from 2 people to 6 people to 4 people to 3 people to 2 people.
By the time I was introduced to it, it was 2 people.
Yeah.
In fact, when you asked me to go with you to the New Works Festival, you said, I can't send you the script right now because it's still 5 people or whatever it was.
Yeah,
And
it
you
was
said,
3 people still,
Yeah.
and I was like, it's going to be 2 people in this version, yeah.
And even then, so after the 2-person version, it changed so much.
Yeah.
Because I remember you, first of all, you were chasing technology.
Yeah.
But then when you took that away, like finding the heart of that story, you seemed to take, I think you always knew what you were writing, but the how to get there, that was a fascinating process.
Right. It was an interesting thing, and I think that, you said chasing technology, like a plot point of that play hinged on cell phone, and cell phones kept changing. When I started writing the play, everyone had a flip phone, and when I finished writing the play, everyone had an iPhone, and so it frustrated me to the degree that the next 5 plays I wrote were all historical plays, so I didn't want to contend with that anymore. So I wrote Guards of the Taj, Describe the Night, Archduke, and it was like, just let me live in a world that I know I know the parameters of.
Right.
It's the only play I've written that's a thriller.
Yeah.
And those are really hard to write as stage plays because they're more suited towards film, and I think it's really hard to maintain a sense of tension like that, like a whodunit mystery, especially with 2 people in one scene.
Yeah.
And so in real time, and so there was so many built-in challenges to that play, but when it worked very well.
I want to fast forward because I don't know how many years later, was it 2014 that I was hired as the New Works director? Time means nothing, people. Time means nothing.
Why are you asking me?
Because you were in my first festival.
Oh, that's right.
Because when I was hired, the first job, it was so funny. They knew, TheatreWorks knew that whoever was the New Works director would direct The Lake Effect. And in my interview, I remember saying, well,
that's
you
gotta
kind of have to hire me, don't you?
Yeah.
They informed me, no, they didn't. When you think about that play, like what was it what inspired that play? It's so funny because we didn't develop it. There are things about that play I don't know.
Well, the Lake Effect was it was an interesting play. It was another play that changed quite a lot in its many iterations, but it was a co-commission between Crossroads Theater in New Jersey and Silk Road Rising in Chicago. It's interesting because I've only written 2 plays that take place in Cleveland, where I grew up. That one and my upcoming play, King James. But I think that was a part of its kind of guiding force for me, was tapping into my home in a new way that I hadn't explored as a writer. So I think that was the kind of main thing with that.
One of the things that I find fascinating about you is I know you to be a good, decent, caring human being. I mean, I know these things about you. Don't try and hide. Don't hide from me. I know this about you. Sometimes you write things and I can't believe what a happy childhood you had. What is that? Why are you drawn to that?
I mean, who can say? I think I always was. I always liked the macabre growing up. I liked, disgusting things. I liked horror movies. I liked, and then as I grew older and, I was drawn more to literature that unflinchingly looked at, the darker side of things. I liked war stories. I liked stories about gangsters and crime, and and then as I kind of entered into a writing career as a playwright, like the plays that I responded to all had to do with, you know, with darker material. But I think what really guides that is that, like, it's not that I'm thinking, okay, what's dark, you know? To me it's always more like what's interesting and fun, and that oftentimes that is darker material, because to me the best feeling is when you've written a scene that is actually very intense and very scary, and then suddenly the audience is laughing.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that the best laughs are those cathartic laughs, you know? I love a farce and I love musical, you know, comedy and stuff like that, but the best laugh for me, both as an audience member and as a playwright, is when the audience is terrified and then has to laugh, you know, and it's such a release, you know, and I think that we certainly achieved that together, you know, in the North Pool and in Describe the Night, and also the Lake Effect, you know, that there are moments of real drama that are followed by moments of not levity, but the inevitable kind of explosion of the absurd that I find really appealing.
It's my favorite thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because Archduke, I mean, you really did that.
Right.
And that you took a story in which we all knew the ending. We knew that the ending could not change and that it was going to be heartbreaking.
Right.
And yet it was a rollicking good time.
Yeah.
You must step outside of your known world. You must go to Sarajevo. Yes. Tomorrow evening, you will take a train to Sarajevo.
You say? A train? What train?
The train to Sarajevo. About 7 hours through the night.
This is the best thing I've ever heard. I've never been on a train. I've always wanted to go on a train.
Okay,
Yeah.
this isn't about a train.
Sir, Captain Office, sir. I've never been on a train.
We
neither, not once.
I want to speak now about the Archduke.
Do we get beds?
Yes, you will share a sleeper car, the three of you.
Like silly funny, like have a bed on a train. I've never had a bed. Now I get one on a train.
What's it feel like on a train?
How fast does it go?
Is it the fastest you ever moved in your life?
This is
wait. Do they have food on it?
On the train? Yes, there's food. They have sandwiches.
They have
This is
sandwiches!
the best day of my life. Is it real bad? Or is it
All that noise, be quiet!
But ma'am, you see, there's a train and there's sandwiches.
Boys will shut their mouths.
That cast, Adam, Jeremy, Weiser, Coop, that, when you wrote Opus, I remember us thinking, you don't write easy plays, and that is something, like, I feel that I'm at my best when I work with a playwright who challenges me, and your plays challenge me. There's what did Patrick Page, a wonderful actor we worked with when we first did Archduke, calls it, we both like to do art on the skinny branches.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
right.
why cling to the trunk of the tree
Right.
when you can actually get out there on the dangerous skinny branches?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's true. It's my favorite thing. And yes, sometimes you can fall off.
Right.
That's true, but that's so much more exciting than hugging the tree
Yeah.
trunk.
Yeah.
And so you write these, Archduke has it, Describe the Night has it. These characters, Bengal Tiger, Uday, you have to be fully present, you have to be brave, bold, but then you, on top of that, you actually require so much daring and an intellect because you write, I mean, Opus has a 2-page monologue about geography.
Yeah.
And what do we do when something strangles us?
Pray.
No. Stop what you are doing for 1 minute and listen to me. How does it feel when someone strangles us?
Bad.
More specific.
Can't breathe.
Can you breathe right now, Nadelko? Can you breathe?
No.
Why not?
I don't know.
Drifko, can you breathe?
No, Captain.
Why not?
Stranglehold.
What happens?
Chokes me.
And what do you choke upon? Any of you, when you find yourselves choking, what is it you are choking upon? Think clearly. What chokes you?
Blood?
Yes. Blood. Understand the map as a physical being. This is a living body with a virulent infection here in Vienna and here in Budapest. And with these infections, illness hemorrhages through the secondary and tertiary organs of the body. And we, the Slavic states, become the cesspool of someone else's sickness. You boys, my young men, you are dying of someone else's sickness.
That play changed enormously from its premiere in Los Angeles to its second, production at TheatreWorks. And it's funny because my experience in this pandemic, living here in Cleveland and kind of like everyone else, going inside myself a bit, and that play I have been reconsidering that play yet again.
Really?
Yeah, and I've been working on a new draft of it. In some ways, there's always the good side to not having an East Coast premiere yet. Really,
Okay.
is that you can continue to work on it. And I mean, you can continue to work on any play you want. Really, Tony Kushner has like 17 different versions of Homebody Cobble.
Yes.
But I two things I think made me reconsider that play, and one of them which is that it became so clear to me that the play has a newfound resonance in this time, because it's about young men who are sick and who have an air-based virus that is going to kill them. And there's a particular line by Apis when he describes the stranglehold of the Austro-Hungarian Empire upon the Slavic states, and much like certain leaders of our country, find a direct lineage from a foreign power to the illness in your lungs. And there was a part of that I found very alarming and exciting as the playwright of the play. But there's also moments of the play that I feel like finally that I was using levity as a crutch. And I think that there's a darker side to the story, a darker side to my story about the start of World War I that is yet unexplored. And so that's what I've been doing.
You are always ahead of the curve in some. I mean, if somebody told me you were a CIA agent, I'd go, I knew it, because
that's my dream job sometimes.
Well, you're as a playwright. I mean, and I say this truly because in Describe the Night, you were talking about Putin and the attack on truth,
Mm-hmm.
and the attack on just how journalism, truth, before anybody was talking about Putin, really,
right,
in this country.
Yeah, I wrote that play in 2014.
Yeah, we remember because it's known as the longest play to be done in the New Works Festival.
Aha, that's right. Yeah, many people found that tedious.
But it's so funny, and I will say...
Such is theater development.
And yet, this is the other thing. The comments that were so helpful were about... Because the seed of... oh God, am I going to say genius?
Sure. I'm comfortable with that.
Oh, just like it's a little bit of it hurts. But I will say the seed of genius in that play was evident.
Yeah.
What you were chasing and how much that changed. And then, I mean, it went on to win the Obie, so in some ways I think you feel good about the process of development of that play.
I mean, we initially worked on that play prior to the New Works Festival at TheatreWorks at New York University's graduate acting program, and I wrote that more as an experiment. And I remember as early as or as late as like maybe 6 months before it was done at the Alley Theater with its world premiere, that I never thought that play would ever be produced.
Oh yeah.
You know? And then suddenly we did a reading of it, and it popped because we were living in a different time.
Yep.
So I have this mode of working. The way I work is I tend to work on something for very intensely. I'll hear it in a reading, or I'll just send it to somebody to get feedback, and then I leave it alone for a long time. But before I go back to it, if like 9 months have passed, or a year has passed since I've looked at it, maybe it's not that long. Maybe it's like 4 months. You're in this really great place when you're unfamiliar with it, and so I think you need to take advantage of that mental state before you go back and reread it. Once you've reread what you've done, you're back in with it. So it's like, take the moment before you're going to go back and reread it. And I actually really like this part of the process, is like, sit down with an open document or on a notebook, and like I write like, here's what I think this play is about, here's what I think is working, here's what I think is not working, here's what I want to work on, and here's what I want the play to be about, and that's really much it. And it's like, and so then you have all these things, and then you read it, and usually it's kind of a shock, because you're like, oh my god, this is not about those things, and I am nowhere near where I want it to be about.
Wow.
And so then you can kind of start working in earnest, because you're like, oh, I need to really kind of, and this might be why I do so many drastic rewrites, because I'm like, oh, this train is not like, this train is going in the wrong direction, entirely. So that's kind of how I negotiate that moment of the process.
It's fascinating. That is also from somebody who gets to be a part of your process. I always love that moment where you say a new draft is coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like it when it happens before we're too far down the design path.
I know.
Because something's going to change.
Yeah.
Well, come back to TheatreWorks,
I
please.
can't wait. I cannot wait. It's one of my favorite places.
We love having you, and so let us know what you're working on, because we just love having you at TheatreWorks.
I love it.
Thank you so
Gio.
much, Rajiv.
Mwah.
Bye, everybody.